Hi, it's Chris Moore with Senior Remodeling Experts. Welcome to Aging in Place is a Team Sport. It's a video series where we talk to different providers. We explore how families, professionals, and communities can come together to help older adults live safely, comfortably, and independently at home. I'm here to guide you, connect you with the right resources, and help make the rest of your life the best of your life. Welcome back to Aging in Place is a Team Sport. I'm Chris Moore with Senior Remodeling Experts, and I have with me today Tom Nardone with Dignity Lifts. I'm sure most of you have seen a lift chair where there's a recliner that not only goes back, but it goes up and helps people stand up from a seated position when they're having some mobility challenges. And Tom has a product that does essentially the same thing with a toilet. So tell us a little bit about that, Tom, and kind of how you got started in that business.
Sure. You described it perfectly, Chris. We make a lift seat for the toilet. There's a few of them behind me over here, but they replace your toilet seat and you push a button and they help you stand up and get down. I actually saw the products overseas. I guess they're popular in India and Scandinavia, Japan, and China, and we didn't really have them in the United States. So I thought, boy, we probably could use those. I mean, we have plenty of people that need a hand, and lift chairs seem a popular category. So I started the Dignity Lifts business based on that. And we help thousands of people. It's a great business. I really love it. I like helping people. Don't mind talking about toileting. I know it's embarrassing to some people, but to me, it's all, it's an activity of daily living. It's something we all do. Yeah. The other thing I like about it is you don't have to take it too seriously. When you start talking to people about their toileting, immediately, I think most people find sort of comfort in joking about it. Whereas with other things, like if you're talking about people with injured toes, I don't think they would find any humor in that situation. But when people have difficulty with their toileting, it's just a topic of humor for a lot of people. So I like that sort of bedside manner of, sort of half clown, half helper.
Well, I think that the ability to laugh at ourselves and not take ourselves too seriously and, enjoy life and have a smile on your face is such a huge part of aging well.
Right.
Because if you focus too much on your problems and all the things that you're not thankful for, it can really put you in a funk.
It sure can. It sure can. And if you can find humor in it, it's a pathway right through the problem. I don't know about you if you've ever had physical therapy or occupational therapy, but I remember physical therapy I had, 13 years ago. I was 42 years old, and I had back issues, and I had physical therapy. And most of what I remember from the physical therapy sessions were the times that she made me laugh, like the times that I thought I knew what to do, and turns out I was completely incorrect, but it was addressed through humor. And I really, I appreciated that. So I like to be that person as well.
Yeah. So how long have you been in the toilet lift business, Tom?
I've been in the toilet lift business for 7 years now. Before this, I was in the bulletproof vest business, believe it or not. So I'm an engineer, and I was in the bulletproof vest business, and I did really well with that. And I sold the company and had to sign a non-compete clause, which meant no more bulletproof vests. So I had to look for the next great thing. So I traveled the world looking for something that might exist that no one in the United States had ever seen before. And I found a few things.
And that you don't need a bulletproof vest to use, right?
Right. No more bullets, please. I don't need to be near dangerous things anymore.
So what is your distribution channel? I mean, are you selling direct to consumers? Are you working through other channels? Do you wholesale? Do you work with contractors? How does that work?
All of it. The answer is we try to help as many people go to the bathroom as possible, and we're happy to work with partners. So we have about 110, we call them dealers, because that's, I think, what the customer calls them. but they could be everybody from a medical equipment store is popular. They could be a lift seat store, which I kind of consider medical equipment, but some of them consider themselves almost like furniture stores. Or very likely could be some sort of contractor, remodeler, age in place specialist, basically.
Okay.
A lot of, CAPS, certified age in place specialists. And then so that's who sells our lifts. That's like the distribution channel. And then we work a lot with occupational therapists, but they don't sell. They're usually not involved in the the money side of it. But we work with them in finding people that we can solve their problems. So OTs and PTs.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine that there are a lot of people who would benefit from your product that don't know it exists.
That's the biggest challenge in my business. Yeah. The biggest challenge in the business. Oh, and now we sell them directly, of course, on our website as well. They ship UPS, so they're pretty easy to get to someone's home. They're designed that way. Like we knew going in, we couldn't make a product that had to be, delivered via furniture delivery service. It had to go UPS. Yeah. Yeah. The biggest challenge with the business isn't that people don't recognize the Dignity Lifts brand. It's that people have never heard of a toilet lift. So that's our biggest challenge. We call that, meaning smart people, described it to me as, in other businesses, say you launch a new soda pop, soft drink, you're going to have a brand awareness problem. People drink soda pop all day. So you just need them to know about your brand and your product. So that's brand awareness. But the level ahead of that is product awareness. People don't know that your product exists. Like 20 years ago, if you were launching a kombucha company, you would have to educate people on not only your brand of kombucha, but what the heck kombucha even was. So that's the big challenge.
Yeah.
It's all part of the marketing strategy.
So how are you addressing that challenge? I mean, tell me what you're doing to
Sure.
get the word out.
Yeah, the goal is to show the product to as many people as possible. And in person is the best, I think. So we do a number of trade shows. We go anywhere. Unfortunately, our customer, the end user, the person who's having trouble getting up and down from the toilet, doesn't really leave the house much, probably. They're already having mobility issues. So there's really not a great opportunity to advertise to them directly. And also, it's not very efficient. If I did find someone who has muscular dystrophy, for example, and I find, get 100 people that have muscular dystrophy, and I send them all an email saying, hey, if you ever need help getting off the toilet, we're Dignity Lifts. That's okay, but each one of those people might buy one lift, and it's not a high chance they're going to refer our product to another person because they're not in social situations. So it's better, we think, to go to like the American Occupational Therapists Association convention, and there'll be 5,000 occupational therapists there. So we can make a splash with our product there. We have it. We can show it to them, show them how it's used, talk about who can benefit from it. So those type of things. And people like yourself, right? Remodeling experts. If I talk to you, you might deal with 20 or 30 people this year that might need our product. So that's why you'll see me at trade shows and conventions of anywhere that they might need help. It could be assisted living groups, like people that run assisted living operations. It could be OTs, PTs. It could be medical equipment retailers like at MedTrade. Yeah. And then YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, those things, trying to make little videos. But
that's the whole universe I'm trying to figure out myself. It's it's something that I never really fooled with much. Of course, when we were kids, none of that stuff existed.
Right. And then you have to wonder, is that the people I'm looking for? Should I have a TikTok channel? It's my customer base, which if I took the average age, it's probably way into the late 70s, if not 80s, for average age of the user. Is that customer on TikTok? It's a good question. I don't think.
Does that customer even know what TikTok is?
Right.
They'll tell you that's the sound a grandfather clock makes, right?
Right. And they're not often the buyer. Sometimes you have their adult children as the buyer, But for us, those folks are in their 60s and 70s often, So. Yeah, so Facebook seems to do okay.
Yeah. Well, I know for me, a lot of times right after Thanksgiving, I'll get phone calls that, an adult child has gone home to visit mom or dad. And it's
Right.
like, wow, they've really gone downhill since last year. And
Right.
I'm concerned about them living
Yeah.
alone and,
Yeah.
and having that kind of impact and influencers. Now, whether mom or dad will listen and have, be open to that conversation, that's another question entirely.
Right.
And my philosophy has kind of shifted over the years. When I first got my CAPS certification back in '09, and I thought I'd just done some work on my mother's house, and put in a wheelchair ramp and some swing clear hinges and some grab bars and things. And I thought, wow, there's going to be a lot of people that need these services, need these modifications, and the phone's just going to ring off the hook. And, I came home and I sat by the phone and waited for it to start ringing off the hook. And
Yeah. Yeah. The Brinks truck
because of,
hasn't arrived yet, Chris. They didn't drop off
yeah,
the money yet.
yeah. And I
But
think
you're
a
right
lot
on
of
the
it is,
nose. Actually, also, we were wondering when we launched the product, because it's only been a few years, is there a seasonality to toilet lifts? Because some businesses have a distinct seasonality. Christmas lights, of course, but every business has like a down period and an up period. And even the Bulletproof Vest business had a slow period. Like January was a slow month. Everyone, if they had budget, we would sell to like armored car companies. So if they had budget left over in December, everybody got a bulletproof vest. And then in January, nobody got a bulletproof vest. So, but we see the same thing you were talking about. The holiday shopping season is not great for us until like right after Thanksgiving is really good because people will visit with an elder. And then right after Christmas is really good because people will visit with an elder. And it's just a little thing that happens in the business that when people Mother's Day, Father's Day too, but not leading up to, usually after.
right, right. So I guess the key then is being findable and being, having a presence in the marketplace so that people that do come home and they see a need are aware that you exist and how to get a hold of you and get your product.
Right. And then there's some part of it where, again, the person who visited mom and doesn't know she's getting stuck on the toilet or what, that's our issue. They're not going to they're not going to go looking for a toilet lift because it's most likely they don't know it exists. So we need to be out there with answers to their issues, which is we need a page of information about what do I do if my mother needs help getting off the toilet? That's a better YouTube video than this is a toilet lift. Here's how to help your parents. So
Right.
it's
And I
what,
mean, it's something that as you alluded to, people are going to be embarrassed about, and a lot of
right,
people are going to that are struggling are not going to be um, as likely to share that with their adult children, for example, or their family members than maybe they're struggling getting in the front door just because
right,
it's a sensitive
exactly.
subject.
Yeah, yeah. And then, I'm not an OT, I'm an engineer, but I work with tons and tons of them. And for someone in your business, like I would think a great video would be right before Thanksgiving, right before Christmas. You could do, here's 10 things to check about your parents' living situation that, you can look at while you're visiting. And it
Yeah.
might be, do they have rugs on the bathroom floor, right? Because those need to go. Do they have rugs in the bedroom? Do they have cords lying across the floor? Like these are all trip hazards that, when you're 65, you could probably get away with that. But when you're 75, 85, 95, these things could be the end of these folks. So, and these are things that the adult children can go in and check on. And it brings up a bigger topic of, can they step into the full height bathtub? And if the answer is no, then they need a remodeling. Can they get on and off the toilet? Are they using their lift chair in the living room? That's usually a higher seat than the toilet, that type of thing. Yeah, I think we all, the team, right? It's a team sport. We all have to help educate the adult children so that they can look for things that they may not know are hazard. Like most people I talk to outside of the business have no idea that bathroom rugs would be dangerous. Whereas every occupational therapist I talk to wants the bathroom rug industry put out of business. So there's two sides to everything.
Right. And I could see where having the OTs and the PTs knowledgeable about your product would be, such a great strategy for you because, they're the ones that are going to be aware that there's struggles in those areas.
Right.
Maybe sooner than the family member.
Right. Oh yeah. I would think an OT, unfortunately, not everyone works with an OT, but the OTs are definitely going to see the toileting issues before anyone else. A lot of people come to buy a toilet lift when they're in a rehab facility. They had a fall or something like that. And now they're finally getting a full assessment as to can they live independently. And toileting, if you can't toilet yourself, you can't live independently. So this would be a situation where if there's no tool put in place to keep them independent at home, they're going to have to move into some sort of facility. And that's when hopefully the occupation therapist offers them a solution, which is a toilet lift. Or the adult children find the solution and say, hey, mom wants to move back to her apartment or back to her house. And these are the things we're going to put in place. We're going to put ramps in place, put a zero entry shower in place. We're going to put a toilet lift in place. So, and that's going to allow mom to stay where she wants to live.
So are you selling any lifts to facilities at all?
We do a few. We have this one over here on this side. This one is our commercial lift. But I would say 90+% of our business goes into people's homes. Toilet lifts aren't covered by insurance, so they're a cash pay item. Typical lift is $1,500. Our most popular lift is $1,500. So that's about 8 to 10 days of rent at an assisted living facility. So that is what, we could say toilet lifts help people get on and off the toilet independently. But what really toilet lifts do is they keep people out of assisted living. They allow you to stay. They allow you to age in place. And aging in place saves a lot of money, like $5,000 a month. So the $1,500 becomes very affordable when people realize without it, they're going to have to leave the situation.
Well, and beyond the financial impact, the peace of mind, the state of being, just the contentment that people have, people feel safer at home. They feel more comfortable at home. They feel more at ease at home. And, that goes a long way towards health. I mean, stress is bad for your health.
Right.
And, I've seen surveys that show that people fear going into, nursing care more than they fear death. And so the idea that, you can go to somebody and say, here's some strategies, here's some products, here's some services, here's some providers that can help you to stay independent longer in your own home is such a huge benefit to people beyond the financial aspect of it.
Right. Absolutely. It is funny too. It's people, my experience with customers is that they're not always quick to do what will make their life better, which is a shame really, because every day I talk to people that have, they have money and they're not traveling anymore. And they're not, they're kind of trapped within their body in a way or in their situation, but there are solutions out there for them to make their life much easier, much more comfortable, much more enjoyable. And I think that's, if I were to do another business in this space, which I'm fine, I don't want to, but it's funny, when you visit an adult relative or something who's in independent living or assisted living, they still have their own space. They can do with it what they want, but you hardly ever see them I always thought my father-in-law watched TV all day, before he passed. He watched TV all day, but he didn't have a nice television. He had millions of dollars in the bank, but he never, do you ever consider, Papa, you could get a bigger TV. And he was like, oh, I'm happy, I'm
What year was he born?
okay. Oh, yeah, right. He was born in 45. So
Okay.
he wasn't really a depression baby.
Okay. So I mean that was my first thought because a
Yeah.
lot of
My
people
dad is a depression baby. He would never.
that went through the depression, just that mindset of scrimp and save every
Right.
penny was so embedded in their consciousness
Mhm.
that, but even if you didn't go through the depression, if you went through a period in your life where you were, money was tight, and you were naturally, everybody's personality is different. Some people
Right.
are averse to risk, and the idea that having millions of dollars in the bank is a safety net, or is
Yeah.
is a source of feeling comfort, and that was more important to him than buying a better TV.
Also, you work with enough people in these situations. There's a denial of their present situation. If you personally can't assess your present situation well, I would ask him if he wanted to get a bigger TV, and he would say no. But then he would say, I really want to go to Italy again. But there was no ability. That wasn't possible, unfortunately. So I deal with customers like that a lot, where that's where the adult children kind of are helpful. Like let's improve. The reason when you visit mom on Thanksgiving and you find out her situation isn't that great isn't because she doesn't have money to fix it so often. It's because she doesn't have the wherewithal to fix it. So, and that's tricky.
Yeah. Well, and I've found this resistance in large part is due to people's perception of what it means to get older. It's
Right.
a negative viewpoint of old age, rather than in many societies around the world where people tend to live to 100 routinely.
Mm-hmm.
In some of the blue zones, Okinawa, Japan, and
Yeah.
Nicoya, Costa Rica, and Caria, Greece. There's one in Italy. I forget the name of that community, but they all value their seniors. They hold them in high esteem. Whereas in Western society, in large part, we tend to view seniors as past their prime, as not useful or helpful to society any longer, as a burden. And I think that's a shame. And one of my projects that I'm working on is I'm working on a book called Age Out Loud, and I'm addressing that idea that getting older is a bad thing, and helping people to recognize that we have so many gifts, we have so many possibilities, we have decades of experience that we can use to make the world a better place, to make our lives better in so many ways, and just recognizing that. I met a man on Sunday at McAfee Knob, which is the most photographed spot on the Appalachian Trail. This man, his name is Dale Sanders, goes by the trail name of Graybeard, and he's through hiking the Appalachian Trail. He's 90 years old, and he's after the record. He was the oldest person to through hike it at 82, and somebody came along and broke his record. So now he's
I
getting
like this guy. Yeah.
And I hiked with him for 4.5 miles. And at one point he said, "You can go in front." And a few minutes later, we're going downhill, and he said, "You can go a little faster. It's downhill." And this. So
Guy.
yeah, I mean, you meet people like that, and it's you realize that so much of our expectation that we're going to be in decline, that we're going to lose our mobility, we're going to be sick, we're going to have cognitive issues, and we're going to do all that. We don't necessarily have to.
Right.
Some of that is in our control, and a lot of it has to do with our mindset and our expectation. And that's a fascinating subject to me, and kind of exploring what that looks like, and how much of that can we really. I read a book called Breaking the Age Code by a woman named Becca Levy, who's a professor at Yale, and it was all about how your positive or negative beliefs about aging affect your lifespan. And studies show that you would add 7.5 years to your life just by having a positive viewpoint of what aging means, which is fascinating.
That's great. And those are 7.5 good years because you have a
Yeah.
positive viewpoint.
Yeah.
More than all those years are are better.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It's a fascinating population to work with, underserved, underattended, and it's a fascinating group to work with.
It really is. I've met some amazing people. Worked with one veteran. He was a B-17 pilot, shot down behind enemy lines in World War II, and spent 40 days in German territory, like hiding in barns during the day and sneaking around at night, and finally got out of there alive. And just incredible.
Yeah, it's before I launched the company, after I sold the one business and was working on the next, I read a book called The Longevity Economy. It was written by a person I had met a long time ago who ran the Age Lab at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And it's a fascinating book. It's a horrible read. It's the most mundane and difficult read you could imagine, but it is full of wonderful facts. And one of the things I gained from it was, as an engineer and product developer, we engineers and product developers tend to develop products for things they do. Like, for example, there's a million inventions every year for the back of a pickup truck bed. Everybody's got a new fishing rod holder or new skis, or new engineers love mountain biking. There's tons of mountain biking products, accessories, bikes, whatever, tons of that sort of stuff, Engineers are often new mothers. So you'll see there's new strollers and there's new pads for your arm to lift the baby carrier. And there's new ways to fold the car seat and all of that sort of stuff, and bibs and all this stuff get updated constantly. But what happens is successful product developers retire, and they retire around 60 years old, 60 to 65 years old. Engineering pays well, product development pays well. They're not going to work until their 80s. And even if they do work until their 70s or 80s, that usually means they're able-bodied. So who's left to develop products for the people that need help with their body? And the answer is, have you ever seen that aluminum walker and people put the tennis balls on its feet?
Yeah.
Find me a product in any other industry that old and that poorly designed that still exists. And the answer is no one develops products, or there's a severe lack of product development for our elders. It's just nobody doing it. So that's when I realized I can do that. So a lot of people in their career, here's some career advice from your friend Tom. A lot of people in their career pick a challenge, Mount Everest that they want to climb, right? Or the Appalachian Trail that they want to be the oldest to do. But there's great careers out there where you you can find the easiest task to conquer and be successful. And that's my method. Toilet lifts are not complex. There's two buttons. One makes it go up and one makes it go down. And guess what? The same motor does both. You just switch the wiring around to make it go the other way. So you just but to get it right, product development is a lot of getting everything right. And so then pick an easy task and get it right. And if it's a task nobody else wants to do, look, everybody wants to develop a new pedals for mountain bikes or whatever, let them do it. I'm over here, I'm helping people go to the bathroom. Nobody else seems to want to do that. So I get to do it the way I want to do it. I can joke around. I can wear a t-shirt to work. I can, yeah. So, and I get to bring a little levity to people's lives. That's good. And I'm helping them. That's great. And I work with one of the greatest things about this job is the occupational therapists. I don't know if you work with a lot of those people. Talk about positivity. They've got let's go. Hey, we're going to have fun and fix people, and we're going to teach them how to brush their teeth and wipe their butts, and it takes a personality to do that profession. And I love those people. They are fun to work.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. You were talking to me about the product development and the engineering aspect of product development.
Mhm.
But it occurred to me as you were telling me that it also reflects, I think, on our perception as a society of the value of older people. It's
Mhm.
almost like there's a perception in the marketplace that, they're kind of disposable at that point. Once people start having mobility impairments and cognitive impairments, then we'll just shuffle them off into a facility someplace and forget about them.
Right.
And that's so sad.
It is. It is very interesting. And being exposed to these facilities, they're trying, but could you imagine being in an environment where you live someplace where there's 500 people and there's no personalization, right? Like they have activities to do, they have, enrichment to do and that type of thing. But even zoo animals get their own activities. There's no businesses that are going into independent and assisted living and asking those folks what they want or showing them a menu of things that they could have.
Yeah.
No one's going in there and saying, look, there's a new iPad that you can make the text really big. If you go in there before that iPad exists, everybody in there has kind of brought in their stuff. They brought in what they had on the last day of living in their home. They got to keep certain things. They chose what they wanted. And it's usually pretty static after that. No one's going in and saying, hey, Jim, you like to play guitar? Would you like to look at this year's newest guitars? Hey, Sally, you still like to sew? I know your vision isn't very good. Here's some tools that can help you do that. Unfortunately, Jim who plays guitar or Jim who plays piano, there's a piano down in the hall, but they're not doing anything to his. I don't know. It seems the perception, and it reflects in the perception. People perceive these places as prisons.
Yeah. And they're no longer treated as individuals.
Right,
They're
right. They're treated as a patient. Yeah. One of many. That's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Especially because normally, I think overall in society, you're treated poorly. Like you're treated that way as almost like a punishment, or if I hate to say it, but if you have no economic power. But these people have money. Like a lot of them have tons of money. Like they could have all of these things. Jim could get a new guitar every day if he wanted. Sally could hire a seamstress she could design the things and hire a seamstress to do the work if she wanted. Or it just seems, or they could, or someone could help these folks pick out new outfits or if they like clothing, it could have personal shoppers. But no one from Neiman Marcus is going into even the poshest of the facilities. It's like they were removed from society.
Exactly. And sequestered. And I think that,
great word.
Yeah, that the interaction between old people and young people is so critical to everyone's good health. I had a woman on this program a couple of episodes ago, and she has it's called Hands for Life, and they're working on their first project in Africa, and they take orphaned grandparents and orphaned children and put them together.
Love it. Yeah.
And they form community, and It's like, everybody benefits.
Right.
We did a session on Age Out Loud called The Rise and Fall of the Waltons Model, and talking about multi-generational living and how that used to be the norm. In many areas, it's coming back for oftentimes for financial reasons, sometimes for caregiving reasons, but the societal and the interpersonal benefits of that kind of arrangement are huge. They're huge because the old people interact with kids, and kids got a lot of energy, and they feed off of that energy, and then the kids can learn the wisdom from the older people, and it's
right. Yeah, my kids went to a daycare that was also shared with the senior center.
I love that.
It was all like in the city, and the senior center was a what would you say, civic, it wasn't a business. It was a community feature,
Right.
municipal service. Daycare was an independent group that the community center brought in and said, we have these 2 rooms. Would you like to run a day? So we want someone to run a daycare in there. And it was great. Did they interact with the seniors a ton? No, but they were around each other constantly. And the seniors, not every senior wants to pick up a kid and change his diaper, but they want to be in that. They're in the same environment, they're in the same society. And some of the, you see I end up in these facilities a lot, doing installations and that type of thing. And some of them are near downtowns, and some are not. And some of them are towns, like some of these CCRCs where there's independent living, huge amount of independent living, smaller amount of assisted living, and then even smaller amount of skilled nursing and hospice care, like all in one facility. Have you been to one of these yet? Yeah. And they are cities unto themselves, but they lack a little bit of flavor. There's no youth other than the person who waits your table and busses your table in the cafeteria, who's generally like 17 years old, or 17 to 25. There's no youthfulness. Interesting. Yeah. But the in place thing is interesting. Sorry, my mailman just knocked on the window. doesn't know on a very important podcast, right? Yeah, it's interesting. Then the age in place thing. So we sell a lot into independent living. Because remember I said toilet lifts keep you out of assisted living. So independent living seems to me to be quite fun. Like living on a cruise ship. I've heard people say that, There's fun activities. They have a gym. They have movies. They have, they have a bar. The one my father-in-law was in had a bar. Like you could go around the pub and have a couple of beers and watch Monday Night Football. So that's pretty nifty. But assisted living seems less fun. You generally spend a lot of your time in your little apartment. So people, and there's the price difference. Independent living, $3,000 a month. Assisted living, $5,000. So if you want to stay in independent living, we can, and toileting is what's driving you to the next stage. We can keep you there. So we help a lot of people in that way. But there's, when there was a survey done, what did it say? Like 93% of people wanted to age in their home, right? So that's a number that's too big to argue with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we help out. Most of our sales go to people like that. They want to stay in their home. Yeah.
So Tom, do you have a favorite story of somebody who bought one of your lifts and, made a significant difference in their life or affected their family?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, the story's the same every time, I think, or similar. Someone having trouble getting up from their toilet. Usually most of the time it's disease related, muscular dystrophy, MS, ALS, something like that. That's the part of the conversation that isn't funny. And then there's the part of the conversation that is. So we generally focus on the funny. I think mainly we're in a situation where someone needs this, they buy it. Usually they're very happy with it. The product gets excellent reviews. And then, nobody's calling me back up and, 6 months later. Once in a while, someone will call me back up and say, love it. But most of the time, they're just happy with the product and they move on and I talk to the next person. Yeah. The joy is, I think, one of the things that's interesting about my job is I unrecommend our product often because there are some situations where our product is not right for them. And I have to talk them down. Oh, I saw a lot of the customers, they'll be like, oh, I saw this product online. It looks perfect. And then you say, oh, really? Well, what are we working with? Who's it for? And, blah, blah, blah. And there's just some people it's just not for. If you're using a Hoyer lift right now to move a patient around, a toilet lift isn't for you. We put the person back on their feet. So if they don't have any ability to stand, they don't need a toilet lift. If they're in a chair, like a wheelchair already, they can do a slide transfer onto a toilet. They don't need to be lifted up in the process, So there's some discussion about that. But that's, I think, where the part where I can make people happiest is in getting the product that's right for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you have different models. Some of them
Yeah.
are plug-in and some of them are battery. Is that?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The sweet spot for the product is what we call our deluxe lift. It's this one here. And there's a few things about it that are nice. It's sleek and easy to clean. So it looks nice in your bathroom. It's supposed to look like an appliance. We don't want some doohickey in your bathroom. It just should look nice and tidy. It has lift buttons on either side. So with your right thumb, you can make it go up and down, or with your left thumb, you can make it go up and down. So this is good for, we've had situations where people have use of their right hand, but then they lose use of they're right-handed, they use the right hand. 6 months later, they lose the ability to use their right hand. So now they're in a situation where the lift, if it doesn't have controls on both sides, it doesn't work. So we're the only lift on the market that has that. Has a one-piece seat, so it stays clean and everything goes into the toilet. And it adjusts for different toilet heights. This model does actually run on rechargeable batteries. And that's important, not for the reason you think. It's important because most people buy a toilet lift when they need it right away. They're in rehab and they want to go home. There's not a lot of premeditated toilet lift purchasing. It's usually, how quickly can I get it? In fact, about 10% of our orders get overnight or second day delivery, which is an expensive proposition because it's a big, heavy box. But they want it now. They need it now. They're having trouble. And most people don't have an electric outlet right near their toilet. So a model that can be recharged once a month or so and can be used throughout the month in that way is perfect for most people. So it allows people to get it in place quickly. So we also have on the lower end of the scale, we have one that's a little more contraption-y that plugs in. That's $999. That's the basic model. The deluxe model, which is one I described fully, is $1,499. So it's $1,500. And then we have a commercial model. We have a bariatric model. It's an extra large model. It goes up to 650-pound capacity. And then our sort of the tip top of the line has a bidet with a heated seat, in-series on-demand hot water heater. So it gives you a warm water wash. It also has a blow dryer because our customer that needs a bidet because they can't reach themselves anymore. They can't handle their hygiene task of wiping and cleaning themselves. So the bidet, it has a easy to use knob that you can use even if you're arthritic, and it runs you through a complete wash dry cycle. So with one touch, you go through a complete wash dry cycle. So low temperature blow dryer, it doesn't burn you or anything. It's not like a blow dryer.
Right.
Yeah, keeps you dry. And that's the top of the line. It's $29.99.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, because in my experience, when we put an outlet near a commode, it's in order to install a washlet seat, bidet functionality. So you do have a model with that functionality. Mm-hmm. So that's, yeah.
Yeah, it's fairly popular. It's our second most popular product.
And that one's a plug-in?
That one plugs in.
Yeah, right.
Needs a GFI.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's plug-in for a few reasons. One, for the hot water heater mainly, though.
Right. You'd have to be charging the battery every night if that one was.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Our website is dignitylifts.com. Lifts with an S because we make a bunch of them. And we're, like I said, we ship them right out. We have a dealer locator on our website that helps you find a dealer near you. And we're at trade shows all the time. So if anyone in the industry is watching, feel free to message me. I'm happy to help. I like to help people with recording issues.
So I know you're going to be at the VGM Live at Home in San Antonio next month.
Yep.
Any other locations between now and then that you're
not between now and November? No, I think I'm home. I just got back from some visits. I think I'm home for most of the month. Then I go to San Antonio, and then in the new year, the big ones I'll be in I'll be in the physical therapist trade show. I'll be in the occupational therapist trade show. I'll be at MedTrade, which is the medical equipment trade show. Those are the three largest ones I do. So, and then there's will be some little ones in there as well.
Yeah.
I generally don't do regional ones, so you won't usually see me at like the Virginia Physical Therapists Association. We don't really have the budget to make it to all of those things. But the big national shows I try to do.
Yeah. Well, you got to go home sometime, right?
Yeah, you got to come here and develop the next great toileting device.
Well, Tom, it's been great, and I appreciate your time, and look forward to seeing you in San Antonio, and wish you all the best, and certainly keep you in mind as I work with people that are struggling to stay in their homes.
Sure, Chris, I really like the subject of your podcast. I think it's really useful. Again, like we talked a bit about that. Just people aren't out there helping, and I hope this grows and grows and grows, and we continue to address this problem. You're doing a great job.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, and have a great day.
You too.